Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at the 3 recommended slash optional things you should really do on the 124019, which are definitely going to help its performance. Now, I have actually done a 3 essential things you should do before you even take this out for its first run. I have actually done that video and that is on the channel now. I will leave a link in the description below if you do want to check that one out, and I would definitely recommend doing those things first before you do anything you see today. Now, I do want to make you aware that the things we're going to be doing today aren't necessarily essentials. They are recommended, they are optional. In my opinion, if you are going to be doing speed runs with this, not only speed runs, but if you're going to be bashing as well, some of the mods we're going to be doing today are definitely going to help you out in the long run, and they're definitely going to help make this thing perform exactly as it should. So the first thing we're going to do today is actually have a look at the rear toe in. Now, this is one of the things the original 144001 also comes with. Now, it's not necessarily an issue because a little bit of toe in, as we've addressed on some of the previous videos, can actually be beneficial to cornering, but in this instance, and I have said in the previous video as well, I am going to be doing a lot of speed runs with this, so I do want to make sure everything is nice and straight, which is why we're going to take a look at the rear toe in first. Very easily adjusted, and it will definitely help with the straight line stability of the 124019. Okay, so the way we're going to adjust the rear toe is to take out the 2 screws that you see here. We're then going to reverse the 2 inserts, that one, and that should solve our rear toe issue. Okay, so all we're going to do is reverse these tiny little plastic inserts around. If I can get it out, it's a little bit stiff. Yep. So as you can see, we're going to take that one off, and we're going to flip it the other way and push it back in, just like so. Push that all the way in. It's a little bit stiff, so you do have to push quite hard. We're going to do the same on the other side. Nearly lost that one. Okay, and we just push it in. Okay, and that is pretty much that. We'll put that back on the car and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so I have actually fitted that back to the car now. Very, very simple. Just put the 2 original screws back in. That is pretty much that. Very quick, very effective. And I can see already that things are looking a hell of a lot better with that. As you can see, you might be able to see on the video, you might not. But yeah, that is looking a lot better. Very quick, very simple little mod. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do today is take a look at changing out the oil in the rear shocks. Now, just like the 144001, this does feature a big, heavy 550 size brush motor as standard out of the box. Now, that does mean that the rear end is obviously going to be a little bit heavier than the front end. WLTOYS don't necessarily take this into consideration, and they run the same weight oil on the front and the rear. Now, the issue with this is when you're doing jumps and stunts, you are going to be hitting that the bottom of the chassis quite a lot, which is why we're going to actually put some heavier weight oil in the rear shocks to account for the extra weight, and it's definitely going to help when it comes to doing those jumps and those stunts. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is take off the rear shocks. We're going to refill those with some 60 weight oil. Now, this is what I'm using. I do use the Core RC stuff quite a bit. Very, very nice. I've used this on a lot of my RCs. This is 60 weight, and this is going to do perfectly fine in this, and that should help rebound some of those big impacts you're going to be having when you are bashing this thing. Okay, so I've got the rear shocks off the car now. All we're going to do is take this cap off. We're going to empty away the old oil onto an old piece of tissue I've got there. You could use a cloth, anything you want to use, dispose of it that way. And then we're going to refill it with some of this Core RC 60 weight oil, and that should get the job done perfectly. Okay, so I have taken off the cap. Now, beware with these, they can be a little bit tight. I did find, especially on the essentials video I did, when I was going around checking all the oil levels, the caps were quite tight. Obviously, you know, since I've already taken them apart and put them back together, I did find they weren't that tight today, but they will be quite tight if it's the first time you're actually doing it. So beware of that. But if you watched the previous video and you've done those 3 things first, chances are you're going to be absolutely fine today. But yeah, if you do find the top cap is really tight, that is normal. That is how they come as opposed to the old model. So yeah, all we're going to do is go ahead and pour away the old oil. Perfectly clear. Now this hasn't even been used out on the street, this has been used nowhere. Just going to get out as much as I can. Now you're never really fully going to get rid of it all, because the only way to do that would be to take the whole thing apart and wipe it all clean. Now I'm not going to do that because I think that's a little bit unnecessary. Some people may disagree, but we've all got different ways of doing things, and I've never really gone wrong throughout the years. So that one is absolutely fine. Just going to leave that there for a moment. We're going to do exactly the same on this one as well. Take the cap off, pour away the excess oil, and then we're going to refill them with the new oil. Again, perfectly clear, which is as you'd expect, brand new out the box. Any remaining, just going to pump that out there. Okay, and that looks good. Okay, so we're just going to dispose of the old oil. Okay, so we're going to fill them up with the brand new oil now. So we'll take the first one, we'll begin filling that. Now, I'm not going to go all the way to the top. I'm going to leave a little bit of room just for everything to compress nicely. Really don't want to be overfilling these too much. I'm going to go for about the same sort of level that these actually had as stock. Pretty much that should be absolutely fine. Now I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll just give this a very slow pump, just up and down, just to make sure there's no air in there at all. Everything is nice and full, and as it should be. So we'll place the cap back on. Now some people may tighten these up quite a bit, to be honest. I think finger tight is going to be more than enough. I can't see them leaking, and that should be absolutely fine, because you want to be able to take them off, take that cap off again in the future. And already that does feel a lot more bouncy, and that does feel a lot better as opposed to the stock 30 weight oil that this actually comes with. So what we'll do is we'll just put that to the side for a moment. We'll fill the other one up as well, and then we'll reassemble the shocks and put them back on the car. These are pretty much there, guys, to be fair. These are good to be put back onto the car now. It's pretty much a reversal of what you did to get them off. I'm not going to show you because it's quite simple. But then after we've done that, we're going to move on to the final thing, which is going to be putting the M3 screws into the suspension arms, which are going to help us to adjust the droop. Okay, so the third and final thing we're going to take a look at today is the droop on the suspension arms. We're going to have a look at the front and the rear. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what that actually means, because I did actually do that on my previous video, so I will leave a link in the description below for you to check that one out. That is definitely going to be a more in-depth version of this video. That video is a little bit older because that was aimed at the 144001, but it's pretty much the same principle, so check that video out if you want a little bit more info about what we're actually doing when it comes to droop. So we are very simply going to be fitting 4 M3 size screws into the suspension arms, which is going to help us to actually lower the vehicle, but not only that, it's going to help prevent a little bit of body roll as well. Now the benefit to this, especially if you're going to be doing speed runs, is you're going to be getting that centre of gravity a little bit lower, which is definitely going to help when it comes to straight line speed. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is fit our droop screws. Now if you can see all the way down in there, that is a little tiny hole that we're going to be screwing in our M3 screw, and that's going to help us to make even more adjustments on this. We're also going to be doing the rear, which is there, and that's where you want to be screwing into that tiny little hole that's already there. Okay, so for anybody wondering what screws I'm going to be using for this, I'm going to be using these M3 screws here. They are cap head, but you can also use some grub screws as well. And they're going to work absolutely fine. Now these may be a little bit too long for your liking, so you could potentially go a little bit shorter, but I like having the extra flexibility there, and that is what I'm going to be using today. Okay, so I have got all 4 screws fitted in now. I'm going to try and give you a very quick demonstration on the front of the vehicle, just to give you a little idea of what this is actually going to do, because there was a few questions when I did the last one as to what it actually does, what improvements it's going to make to the car itself. So I'm going to give you a little demonstration. Now what this basically does is it's going to help lower the overall ride height, which is going to help massively when it comes to body roll, when it comes to stability when you're doing speed runs. It's definitely going to help, because with the car sitting this high, you are going to get a little bit of body roll. You're also going to have a higher centre of gravity. So by doing this, you are going to be able to get the overall car sitting a little bit lower, which is really going to help with stability when you're doing your speed runs or whatever else it is you're going to be doing. So what I'm going to show you very quickly is this. I'm going to screw in, not too far, but I'm going to try and, I'm at a very weird angle here, so trying to find the screw head. There it is. So I'm just going to screw in. We're going to do both sides, and I just want you to keep a note of the overall stance of the car itself, and you will see that it will begin to start lowering a little bit. Yeah, it's already started now. Now, just to make this a little bit more even, I'm going to go for the other side as well. Now, I'm not going to go too low with this. I want it to be sort of level and even. So I'm just trying to look on the camera as I'm doing it, because I don't want it to be mismatched. See, if I was to keep tightening, you can see how the car starts to go down further on one side, which isn't what we want. So all I'm going to do is a few turns out, just until it's pretty much level with the other side, and I'm pretty much happy with that. As you can see, that is sitting a little bit lower now, so you've still got a nice bit of bounce there. The suspension setup still working correctly as it should, as you'd expect. But if I was to lift the car now as well, it pretty much stays in place. There's literally no droop. The suspension arms and the whole setup at the front is not sagging in any way. It's pretty much what you want to go for, guys, to be honest. Especially if you're going to be doing speed runs, you do want to try and keep things as tight as possible when you are reaching some serious speeds with this. And this is one of the fixes, and one of the things that does come as standard on a lot of other models. But it's nice that the holes are there, and all you have to do really is put a screw in them. So I hope that's given you a little idea of what we've actually achieved with this. A lot of people say it's pointless. A lot of people say you don't need to do it. I definitely think you do, because it does help with a little bit of body roll, and it does help give you a little bit more stability at speed. Now, if you are a regular subscriber, you may be wondering what is the next step for this on the channel. You may also be wondering why I haven't actually done any running videos on this yet, mainly because they have already been done. A lot of people got this before me. They have already done the stock 2S run, you know, 3S runs, all that sort of stuff. There's really no benefit to me actually doing all of that stuff again, because all those guys have already done it. I think the only thing left to do is convert this to brushless. I've got all the components ready to go, so we will be doing a full brushless conversion on this very soon. So if you're into that and it's something you want to do on your one, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because that video is going to be coming up very soon. Okay, so we're going to leave it there today. Like I said, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like and a comment down below, and I will see you again very soon on the next video. Take care.